and welcome to the Free Your Spirit podcast. I'm your guide, Carole Frey, founder of Free Spirited Wanderer, a conscious wellness business of yoga retreats, lifestyle coaching, and yoga teacher mentorship. In this podcast, we explore conscious business, yoga on and off the mat, and general lifestyle. Our aim is to help you live a more fulfilling and purposeful life. Whether you're an entrepreneur, yoga student, yoga teacher, or simply someone looking to make positive changes in your daily life. Join us as we share insights, tips, and stories to inspire you on your path to a more free-spirited life. So sit back, relax, and let's embark on a journey of self-discovery, adventure, and expansion. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Free Your Spirit podcast. I'm your host, Carole Frey. So today's topic is something that has been on my heart and mind for quite some time now, and it's something I've really been exploring within my life and practicing, and it's been a big extension of my yoga practice and how I show up in my life and essentially how I've been handling things currently. So this topic is the question to replicate or celebrate. And, I've heard a few different things around this before, so I'm just going to kind of share my take on it and my experience and what this means to me and why I'm even going to talk about this. So when I say to replicate or celebrate, this comes from when we hit a milestone within our life or a goal or something we've achieved. So recently when I was reviewing quarter one for my business, I realized that I had a really, really incredible quarter, something that I've never even been close to coming to before, something that I've been envisioning and wanting and working towards for so long. And it even took me some time to realize that this was real, that I had actually done this, of course, with the help of so many other people as well. But when it really landed with me that this was reality and this was real and this was current, I actually had this fear that came up. And this fear was, oh my gosh, can I do this again? How do I do this again? What do I need to do this again? And I was immediately thinking about how to replicate this and if it was even possible for me to do this. And a lot of fear came up, a lot of anxiety. Essentially, it felt really, really heavy. So I was kind of sitting with this and just, being aware of what was going on and what was happening. And I had to think back to, these tools, these techniques, these practices I've done, things I've learned from other teachers and coaches of this idea of celebration, and of course, we want to celebrate ourselves. We want to be proud of ourselves, to celebrate the things that, these goals that we've hit, that we've worked so hard for. And it's so easy for us to skip over this moment and to immediately think to the next thing. However, this celebration feels nice, right? It's like this love, this joy, and the meaning of life is to find joy, to be present with what is. So when I was thinking about this idea of okay, can I celebrate this? It was really to relish in this moment and all that it is, to relish in who I am and what I had to do to get here, and to really be proud of how far I had come, the struggles I had, the obstacles I overcame. Also time to honor the people who helped me get there today, acknowledging that without them, I wouldn't be here today, and they also deserve to be celebrated. So I basically was thinking, okay, to replicate or celebrate, which feels nicer? Obviously, the concept of celebration feels so much nicer. And how can I learn to lean into this? And it's funny because of course, we have self-development. We're always working to better ourselves, to be a better version. We're working to the next goal, to accomplish things in life. And these are all amazing things. They're part of life, and they, make us who we become every step of the way. However, we forget sometimes that, let me back up a little bit. So basically, anything we want in our life, anything we desire, right? There's a feeling behind it that we desire, and we also want it because we think it's going to make us happy. But if we're not happy along the way, we're not happy within the journey, then what makes us think that this next level is going to bring us more happiness? And in yoga, we have the 8-limb path, we have the yamas and the niyamas. And these niyamas are moral observances. It's basically how can we be in a better relationship with ourselves, a more positive experience with ourselves. And the very first niyama is santosha, and this is contentment. And so often I think we confuse contentment with complacency and this kind of fear. If we live in the moment, if we're content, then we're not growing, we're not expanding, we're not moving forward. And it's actually the opposite, right? Like, to be content is to honor where we are right now. It's to accept and appreciate everything we have done, everything we've become, and we can move forward from there. And then it also brings us back to love and joy, right? And like, we want to live our life in love and joy. And when I think back to that idea of to replicate, it's fear that comes up. It's anxiety. It's, oh my gosh, can I do this again? How am I going to do this again? So leaning back into this contentment, coming back to this love, this joy, and this celebration. And another thing, this really led me to, as I was thinking about this, is like, why can't I celebrate myself more? Why am I already like striving for the next goal, striving for the next version of myself? And, it comes from this concept of I am not enough. And from my understanding, a lot of people I've talked to, a lot of us carry this around of I am not enough. And we find all these ways to fill that void that are actually not what we need. And as I've been like exploring with this and seeing what this means for me, it's again like appreciating myself right now and really thinking back to like everything I had to do to get to this moment and remembering like how badly I wanted to be where I am now. And for me to not take note of that, to not be proud of myself is doing myself a disservice. And, thinking about this, it's like basically holding me back, right? If I'm not going to celebrate myself for all I've done, if I'm not going to be proud of myself, like what is the point of continuing to go forward? And again, it's a disservice to myself, to my business, to everyone else involved who has helped me along the way. So, and I think about this, like I am never going to be this version of myself again, right? Like we are continuing to grow and expand. And I'm like, I really like myself right now, right? Like I have come such a far way. Like I've dreamed of this version that I am today. And how can I be present with her? How can I get to know her and seek to understand her? Because she won't be here forever. Like how can I celebrate her, love her? And because she's amazing, right? And like she has taught me so much to get here, and she's here for a reason. So it's like, how can I slow down and just be with her? How can I be content right now rather than feeling like I automatically have to get to the next big thing? And of course, I want to get to the next big thing because I think that's going to bring me more happiness, more, and filling that void of I am not enough as I am already. And how can I not rush to the next thing, especially when life is so beautiful right now? And it's been filled with this hard work, this discipline, this dedication and devotion. And I've realized it's something that I want to soak in. Like, I just want to be with this right now. So I'm sharing this, kind of short episode, just something that's been on my heart, obviously in hopes that it'll help you on your path as well, help you like appreciate yourself, like remember how badass you are right now, how amazing you are. Look back at everything you have accomplished. And one of the reasons I love journaling so much, and it's practices I share on all of my retreats, we journal before every class. I encourage people to do it the whole time there, and of course back home as well. because we write down amazing things, right? We write down our goals, our dreams, our desires, our aspirations. And sometimes we forget these things, right? I mean, of course, we're subconsciously always working towards them, but for example, there's things that I remember before I had even done my first women's retreat in Tulum, Mexico in November 2021. I was looking back at something I wrote. I think it was like exactly a year before that, of maybe even 2 years before, of how I wanted to do these women's retreats, how I wanted to start being in this space where women could be seen and heard and understood and celebrated in all of their beauty and greatness. And it was something I had kind of forgotten about as my focus had been in other areas. And it was so interesting when I read back to this journal entry, because I was like, oh my gosh, I am doing this right now. And consciously, I forgot about it, but obviously, like subconsciously, it was still there. And there was this work I was doing to get there that I had kind of forgotten about, essentially. So this journaling is so cool, because we write down these things, we put it out into the universe, we share it with ourselves, and then subconsciously, maybe consciously, we start to do the work. So again, like we look back and we see this of like, oh my gosh, I wanted this. And then when we cultivate that, we get it, we accomplish it, like we need to be happy with it, like find that contentment, that joy, that celebration with it. And also with the journaling, sometimes, we look back and we're like, damn, I was so much wiser than I thought I was. I was so much smarter. Like I knew, like I had it going on. And it's nice to like connect back to these pieces of ourselves and like notice like, okay, without that version of myself, I would not be here today. Literally would not be here today without those struggles, without those obstacles, without that path that I had gone through. And, it's funny too, because I've had clients who ask me like, okay, this is my dream, this is my goal, this is what I'm working towards. Now, what happens if I get it and it's not what I want? What happens if it doesn't bring me that love, that happiness that I thought it would? And my answer is that time is not lost. It's not, because you needed to do that, whatever it was, to realize that like, hey, that wasn't for you, but perhaps then most likely it evolves into something else. And without that experience, without that journey, you wouldn't be where you are today still. When I started doing, when I worked with my first business coach and I was thinking about moving everything virtually online, especially when it was a pandemic and things were scary. And I really thought like, okay, maybe this is my path. I meant to do this, and I created this whole program, and it's something I still do a little bit, but it's not my main focus. However, that program I created, that authentic feminine mastermind for women's groups, is now a retreat that I lead every single year. So I was able to take those practices and put it into a different experience, right? So it's like, that time wasn't lost. It just helped me realize that there was something else I could do with that. So again, this is part of like finding that contentment along the way, accepting where we are. Also, sometimes realizing that if we didn't hit a goal or didn't hit, that aspiration, or didn't cultivate it yet, it doesn't mean that we're not going to, right? There are a lot of goals. I said I hit a really big goal. It actually wasn't even a goal of mine, and I succeeded that beyond any stretch of the imagination. But there's other goals that I've written down that I haven't accomplished. And what I do is I move them to the next year. I keep trying. I keep showing up, because I know one day it's going to happen. It's going to be there for me, because I'm continuing to show up and to do the work. So coming back to this concept of to replicate or celebrate, it's coming back to like what feels nicer, what can feel light and free rather than heavy and weighing us down. And like life and yoga and these spiritual practices are to help us find this liberation, right? Shayna Small shared this in one of our recent episodes of What is Yoga? The goal of yoga is to liberate ourselves, to get off that crazy path and to come back home. And, for me or for a lot of us, or that innate state essentially is like love, it's clarity, it's joy, it's being in our personal power. And we do this by being in that energy of celebration, by being in that contentment. And only then are we ready for that next level. Can we become that next version of ourselves? So basically what I want to share and just even wrap this up with is celebration is where it's at. Lean into it. You won't ever have this moment again. You won't ever be who you are right now in this exact moment again. Try to seek to understand yourself, love yourself, literally be in relationship with yourself. Thank yourself. And yes, we keep moving forward. This is part of success, but this rest is just as important as the work, right? The contemplation, the integration, the time of looking back at what worked well for us. How did I get here today? And yes, there is an element of replicating that, of continuing it. But again, we want to do it in a way that feels light, that feels free. Because if we don't have that happiness along the way and we're continuing to seek it in the next step, we're continuing to say, well, I'll be happy when I have this. I'll be happy when I look like this. I'll be happy when XYZ. We don't ever find it. And I know this from experience. And I know a lot of other people that know this from experience. So we come back to the present. We come back to, I am enough exactly as I am right now. I can be who I am. I can celebrate myself, love myself. I can honor myself right now. And from that space, I can grow. I can expand. I'm really at the space in my life where I want to release this weight and I want to celebrate. I want to enjoy this journey and be present with what is. And sometimes being present with what isn't always easy, right? It's not always what we want or what we desire, but it is a part of who we are becoming. It's a part of the journey. These hardships, these obstacles, these struggles, we need them, right? Sometimes we need to suffer so we can learn how to end that suffering. And we get stronger along the way. We can handle more because we've already handled so much. So if this is something you're resonating with, if you relate to this, thinking about your own life and just thinking about what feels nicer to replicate or celebrate, and how can I come back home to being enough? How can I love where I am right now? And then from there, continue to expand and grow and become that next version of yourself. So that is all I have for you. This is just from my heart, from my current life, something I've just been wanting to share and get out there because, again, it's felt really heavy and I don't want to carry that around anymore. And even just by talking about this, by sharing it, I already feel a little lighter and it's helping me to move forward and to really, it has to be a reminder for me, right? And that's all of these practices. We have to continually choose our path, continually choose ourselves. We're making decisions all the time and checking in. Do these decisions align with my true self? Do they align with my future self, my highest self? So we come back home to that. We try and we try. We show up. We try some more. We try some more. And we just continue along this path. But come back to this contentment. Come back to celebrating yourself and just remember that you are so awesome as you are right now. You are amazing. You have accomplished so much already. And take this time to be proud of yourself and see what does celebration mean for you? This can mean so many things. It can literally be resting, go take a nap, rest your head. It can be getting out in nature. It could be a glass of champagne, a yoga class, going out with friends. Celebration is so many different things, but it's just leaning into that energy. So I encourage you to find something in your life where you can celebrate yourself right now, where you can be proud of yourself. Remember everything you had to do to get to where you are right now. And just remember that there was one day that you wanted so badly what you have right now. And to not take time to be present with that, to really reap it in, to experience it, is doing ourselves a disservice and so many other people as well. So that is what I will leave you with today. Thank you so much for being here. I'm always so honored that you choose to spend your time with me. I know how valuable your time is. And thank you for tuning in. I will see you on our next episode. Until then, continue to show up as your truest, most authentic self.